Hello and welcome back to Art Club. We're going to continue on with our printing fun today. So you'll probably recall from a few classes ago, from a prior class, we created backgrounds that look like this. Maybe yours has a little bit of empty space on the bottom. Maybe yours is fully covered. But either way, we're going to need that piece of paper that has our bubble wrap print on it. So go ahead and get that out. We are going to be creating yet another beautiful winter scene. So you can see I've got my paper out and ready to go here. What else are we going to need today? Well, we're going to need our white paint. We're going to need a paintbrush. If you'll remember from the polar bear picture, we used a small piece of cardboard that had the corrugation in it. We're going to use that again, or if you don't have that same one, just cut out another tiny little piece of cardboard, just like this, because we'll be using that again. And we're going to also need some other pieces of cardboard, a little bit bigger this time. You can see these are about the size of the palm of my hand, maybe a little bit bigger. There's no exact size for this, but we're going to be making these into some trees. Let me see. So what did I all say? Paper, cardboard, paint, paintbrush, and scissors. We're going to need some scissors as well. All right. So our first step is, right now we've got some snow falling onto potentially nothing, right? Whether your paper looks like that or like this, it's just kind of falling onto nothing. There's emptiness there. So we want to create a hill or a mound, some ground in which our trees, our pine trees that we're going to be creating today, will be able to grow out of. So I'm going to paint that on here, just using my white paint. You can have a tall hill or a small hill or no hill. It could just be the ground. Maybe mine has two little mounded bumps here for our ground, and then we're just going to fill that in. Now, of course, if at any point you need to pause or rewind to have this video better work at the pace you're going, go ahead and do that, right? Beautiful thing about RVA and having these recordings is we can all kind of tailor it to our own pace and our learning needs. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. You can get a little bit more paint. I'm just going to put it right on there. Why not? There we go. And paint that all across. Get into the edges without trying to get it on my computer over here. I think I need a little bit more art space, don't I? Alright, here we go. Getting all those edges, just like that. And now I've got a beautiful snowy hill from which my trees may grow. So let's create some trees, shall we? So we've got these pieces of cardboard. I am going to take my scissors and cut those pieces of cardboard into tall, triangular shapes. So these are going to be our pine trees. Now, these we're going to use these to print with. They're not actually going to be glued down or anything, but you can kind of see that that looks like it's pretty size appropriate. So if you want to just kind of test out, like, does that look like a good size? Feel free to test that out. And don't forget, you know, I just trimmed this tree out of this piece. No reason why I can't also use some of those scrap pieces on the side to make different sizes of trees as well, right? Maybe we've got a little tiny one like that. So you can have some varying size trees for in our landscape here. Okay, so we are going to be printing, and printing is a cool process, right? Because think back to, like, you know, its original purpose, where, you know, if we wanted to get out a flyer to a whole bunch of people, you know, before you might have had to have use a typewriter and type it up 100 times, and that is exhausting. So when we came up with printing, where it's like, okay, if I have these letters and then I put the ink on it and just keep stamping it over and over and over again, you can reuse it a bunch of times. We're going to be able to do that with these too, right? Because watch this. I'm going to get a little bit of paint on here. I'll put it right on there because, once again, why not? Skip the middleman of the parchment paper over there. We're just going to go right onto our tree. And I want to make sure I have a decent amount of paint on here. Some of it is going to kind of get soaked into the cardboard itself. So I want enough that there's going to be, you know, a sufficient amount on there that there's still enough to go onto the paper. So just like that. And then find a little spot where you want that to go and print it on down. Make sure to get all of those edges as well. Press it down firmly and we lift. Now check this out. I can go ahead, add more paint to it just to make sure that, you know, we've got enough on there to transition over to the paper. Once I flip it over, there we go. And I don't have to paint again, right? I can just go ahead and flip it and print it. So I wouldn't have to like keep repainting a similar tree over and over. I can print it over and over. It's kind of fun to understand that printing process. Very cool. And another thing I like about the printing process is each time it does turn out a little bit differently. So we're going to get different textures each time. It kind of individualizes each print. So you can see that texture that we get from that printing process and how it looks different on each of those trees. You can of course do that for those different sizes too. Maybe I want to add in a little tree. Let's see, I might need to get a little bit more paint there. Add a little tree on into the scenery as well. So it's kind of up to you how you want to design it and make it look. Now another thing I should mention too, obviously I'm using the white paint, but if you've got that colorful paint, check out what color you have, and you could use that for this as well. So if you've got like a green or a brown or a color that you think would look pretty cool for one of these trees, you can use that. I had a teal blue, so I'm deciding to use my white, and I can either leave it just as like a snowy scenery, or once this dries, I can go back in with like crayons or markers and color kind of over the top like we did with our polar bear. So that's another option too. Another thing to think of, I told you guys we might get this back out from our snowflakes the other day. So I am going to also be making a different kind of pine tree. So these are like the nice fluffy ones